we're on this journey of self-discovery, transformation, and awakening. And every month we get here to dive into profound conversations with wisdom keepers, healers, thought leaders who illuminate the sacred in everyday life. And together we'll explore ancient practices, modern insights, and the mysteries of the soul to help you align with your highest truth. So whether you're here to nurture your spirit or ignite your inner power, or just simply reconnect with what feels most authentic to you, this is your space. This is a sacred circle where your soul is seen, heard, and honored. So thanking all of you here joining us. And in this enlightening episode, we are honored to welcome Ajahn Tree Bao, who has been a social worker and interpreter serving areas of law and medicine for the past 19 years in Florida. And he has been a dedicated practitioner of Buddhist teachings and a monk for the past 10 years after the passing of his grandmother, and now serves suicidal teens across the U.S., and he hopes to inspire others in his own change. So together we'll explore the path of peace, a profound journey into the life of a monk and the timeless wisdom of the Buddha. So welcoming all of you. Thank you so much, Ajahn Trudao. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. It's been quite sometimes that I've done a podcast, so coming back to it brings a big smile to my face.
Oh, good. Yeah, I actually tuned into a few past ones that you did. And, I like to say, so a while ago, and this is how I came across your work, I was, one of your videos popped into my feed, and I immediately followed, and I've been tuning in for quite some time now. And actually, when I just introduced you, when I read your bio, I learned about how you, because that was one of my first questions, was what led you to this path? That was one of the first questions I wanted to ask.
Yeah, so I grew up in a not so good family. A lot of fights, a lot of domestic violence. Immigrating to America in 1995, my father was a military lieutenant, immigrated under the Reagan bill. So we were trying to adjust to American life, and I think everyone was just trying to figure it out. A lot of alcohol abuse in the home. So we tried the best that we could. I was never close to my parents. I was close to my grandmother, of which I had to wait 10 years before she immigrated, post us. Um, she was a very peaceful woman, very non-judgmental, peaceful, smiled at everyone. And after her passing in 2015, I really hit rock bottom really, really, really hard. I didn't know what attachment was until that moment, actually, of cremation. Because I tried to hold it together as strong as I could until I realized that I'm never going to see her again after cremation. And that was the start of the spiral. And followed by my best friend, Jacob Hall, who passed away in 2016. That just added more fuel to the fire of suicide and self-destructive behavior. And so I was going down the very, very wrong and dark path between those times. And I figured that, if I take my life, well, number one, it was my job that kind of debated in my head and says, well, if you take your life, no one's going to work some of these cases that you're working. I was working cancer cases at the time. So I figured it was really selfish of me to take my life if I were to end it. So I turned towards Buddhism, of which my grandmother meditated often and daily. So I wanted to replicate why it worked for her and the possibility of it working for me. And that was the start of my journey in becoming a monk.
That's so deep. Wow. I love how, in hindsight 2020, right? It's sometimes these moments in our life that are so defining, or our rock bottom moments, or those moments of what we consider darkness, how they end up being very pivotal in our lives for something great, so to speak. So thanks for sharing that. I wanted to ask you, can you share your perspective on why Buddhism is considered by many to be one of the most comprehensive educational systems ever created?
Yeah, it is comprehensive, the most comprehensive and effective that I have ever seen. And these words were also uttered by our senior teacher, Venerable Jaya Saro, who lives in Thailand right now, His Holiness. When I grew up Catholic, and when you pay close attention to the Bible, you notice that there's a lot of what and why, but you don't really get a lot of how, or that the how is difficult to discover in the Bible. And some of the many examples I give is, well, if someone smacked you on this cheek and God told you to turn the other cheek, the question becomes how. And especially here in Florida, when you have a 38 in the glove box, right? And elsewhere in the world where people have baseball bats and all of these things, it's very difficult. So in Buddhism, we teach the how by, for example, loving kindness meditation, mindfulness of the breath, mindfulness of feelings, Vedana, of which, the start of anger is by into the physiological changes in the breath. So if you are aware of your breath, you know that anger is pending, anger is on the way. Okay? That's just one example. Um, we have 84,000 teachings. We have 45 Bibles. So I don't think one can finish all of that in this lifetime. And that is why monks dedicate their entire life to study, disseminate, interpret, and put into practice very quickly the teachings of the Buddha. But that's why I invite everyone, to like visit buddhanet.net, where there's comprehensive explanation of the Four Noble Truths that people can dive into on letting go, detachment, understanding one's emotion, and so on.
Wow, I learned something new just now. That is an enormous amount of, and now I understand why, the dedication, you know, um, is so important because there's so much to learn. So for you, okay, my next question is what are the fundamental teachings in Buddhism that make it so transformative in guiding individuals toward self-mastery and enlightenment?
So I also wanted to add, what keeps us from being fully human is all of the acquired bad habits throughout our lifetime, and accumulated acquired negative emotions throughout our lifetime. So as young as we could remember, we were children, we were kids growing up, and we're like tape recorders. We see things, we hear things, and it forms us into the angry woman or man that we are. And because we weren't loved a certain way, or certain particular attention was not given to us, it leads to detachment, insecure attachment, anxious attachment styles. So when we go out in the world and we're just trying to figure out how to love, we don't know how to love. And school doesn't teach you how to love. Buddhism teaches you what school doesn't teach you. Um, the methods set forth by the Buddha is quite in order. So it's not like 84,000 teachings. Where do I look? Where do I go? It's all compressed into the Four Noble Truths, four undeniable truths that I invite the entire world to try to prove us wrong. Which is cool because we're not asking you to take it on blind faith. We're asking everyone to approach it from a curious and scientific standpoint. It's our jobs as monks to prove the Buddha wrong. He wanted us to prove him wrong. It was an open invitation in the Kalama Sutta. So the Four Noble Truth is, number one, there is suffering in life, the existence of suffering. Suffering of birth, old age, decay, disease, and death. Wanting something and not getting it is suffering. Getting something that you don't want, like a flat tire, is suffering. So the identification and realization that, wow, in this lifetime, yeah, it's cool to be human, but sometimes it also sucks. And to recognize that, we start to investigate the second noble truth, which is desire causes suffering, said the Buddha. So what is it that I want this morning? I want certain things to go my way, and it can't be. I want to make more money. I want a job promotion. I want a partner. I want a partner in a particular manner or style or nature or disposition. Um, you know? And so when we start investigating our desire, we realize that excessive desire does in fact lead to additional suffering on top of the first suffering that I just mentioned. So you're waking up with backaches, and now you're creating more psychological suffering on top of the backaches that is endowed with being naturally human. Then we go into the third noble truth, which is, well, if you don't want to suffer anymore, maybe you should readjust or let go of certain desire that is not realistic at this time in your life. Which is Nirota, which is what I teach to my young students. Well, if you don't want life to suck, stop wanting stuff. Some of them throw a fit over a vape. Oh my goodness, if I couldn't get a vape that day, oh, it's the end of the world. And I'm like, really? Are you going to let one vape or one cigarette or one beer or whatever it is that you want? Or are you going to let that girl right now ruin the entire of this beautiful day here in Florida? Then we move on to the Noble Eightfold Path. So the path to peace in letting go, in detachment, is by following the Noble Eightfold Path. And it starts with right view. Okay. Right view, right intention, right action, right mindfulness, right effort. Uh, I'm giving it not in the order that it is in, but it needs to start with right view, so that you see people have wrong view. That's why they jump to conclusions, they blow things out of proportion, they get angry very quickly. And right view actually circles back to the first noble truth. So you have to study the first noble truth in details so that you're no longer ignorant of suffering. And but by being aware of that, you're now coming into what it's like to be human today, right now in this moment. So that's pretty much it. It makes it very easy. Enlightenment is very easy. The path to peace is very easy, not hard at all.
Yeah, the Four Noble Truths. I can see how just those that's already a game changer. Just hearing those detachments to suffering. I'm excited to show this to my teenagers because the fits and all of that are real in the teenage years. So, how do Buddhist teachings serve as tools for personal growth and emotional well-being in today's fast-paced world?
Understanding yourself, we don't know who we are. That's why we do the things that we do. That's why we use alcohol and drugs to mask the pain. And we are enslaved by our emotions. Look at how much our emotion dictates what we do, what we eat, what we're going to do, who we do it with, and not understanding the why behind that. And all in the sake of fun, all in the sake and impact on your body and your mind, and not realizing these substances is destroying your mind and or your body. I'm counseling a 21-year-old student that's literally like 60 pounds. And I'm like, you're using cocaine at 60 pounds, being 21 years old. What fun do you actually get out of this? And for how long can you escape your suffering? So it's by and through logic like that that helps them wake up. And I'm like, do you not even see yourself in the mirror? You realize that organ failure is a very great possibility for someone that is of that height, body mass index, and so on. So Buddhism circles back around. When you meditate, you start to question, why can't I sit still? Something is unsettling. That would be the first question. Why can't I sit still? Something is unsettling. That would be the first question. Something is unsettling that I cannot sit still. Now, those who cannot sit still, we have a problem. That was me, by the way. That my dad says, "Do you have a needle underneath your butt? Because you can never sit still." And I said no. Um, and so when you sit in silence without Wi-Fi, without your phone, you start to really question there is an underlying desire in my heart for something here. Either you want the next cheesecake, hamburger, you want to go out on a date, you want to find something. It's something that you're seeking outside of you, not inside. Um, and so that's what makes Buddhism effective, because you have to go through the pain. I mean, understanding who we are is painful. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Not all of us come from a perfect family, perfect background. Life, life did a number on us, or we didn't know how to do any better, so we did a number on ourselves. And Buddhism invites you to examine closely, how did I get here? Where have I been and how did I get here? To start owning some of the story that you've been running away. And by owning that story, you come closer towards enlightenment. There's nothing more powerful than a man or woman who really understands who they are, why they do the things that they do, and proceeding on forward, securing that knowledge, where they want to go and who they want to go with.
That's so deep. The owning the story part, it's that taking responsibility um, is where the empowerment, I think, comes from. What I think is really interesting and what separates you from others I've seen in these teachings is your intersection of Buddhism and psychology. What's interesting, just in case you guys don't know Chudao, I mean, you can find him on Instagram and we'll post all of his links. But I mean, 1.5 million people are tuning in or more on TikTok to your teachings, which I think is really, really powerful that you're reaching this many people with something that's so life changing. So, how do the principles of Buddhist philosophy align with modern psychological practices?
Psychology is just now catching up to what the Buddha have been saying for the past 2,568 years ago, in regards to desire, in regards to bipolar, depression, anxiety. Look very carefully. Anyone who has a graduate degree or in psychology that makes this comparison and contrast clearly sees that science is now realizing, and all of the philosophers in the days of yesterdays also somewhat aligns with Buddhism. You know, so our tradition, the Theravadan order, goes back the days of the Buddha, and that's what's interesting. But you need both, because obviously, if I take philosophy from the Buddha 2,600 years ago and explaining it to people, they wouldn't believe me, because they're like, with what proof and evidence? So we need the evidence from Western psychology to convince the modern day minds of this is how your mind is tripping. And this is what the Buddha said, how your mind was tripping, in conjoining, concurring, and consecutive with Western psychological DSM-5 diagnoses. So then the human's like, well, I can't really debate there. And the lawyer in one's head, it is irrefutable evidence, right? That's one thing that I have identified over the past 19 years of clinical work, is that how the lawyer in our head steers us wrong. It debates, it has speech and debate in our head. It creates story without evidence. And that's my program, is cognitive behavioral therapy with mindfulness, Buddhism. And cognitive behavioral therapy explains how we jump to conclusions without evidence and how we blow things out of proportion. And just look at those two alone, how vicious that cycle is day to day in your mind. You don't have any evidence, but yet you think she's cheating on you or he's cheating on you. With what evidence do you have? When someone doesn't pick up the phone, you're like freaking out. Someone is getting hit by a car, or they ran to another state. Just with the story that we concoct in our head, manufacture in our heads. So that's why I find it very powerful. And there are a lot emerging people out there that is studying both and realizing that, wow, the answer lies in both, what we can see here, and how reassuring the evidence is, proceeding on forward, that this is the right path. There's nothing more ambivalent and ambiguous, choosing something and you don't know if this is the right path. Is it worth my time, energy, resources, and effort? So the Western psychological research and the literature reinforces that mindfulness in Buddhism does in fact empirically work, and you can in fact achieve peace and all of the physiological changes and health benefits. I mean, everyone that's watching right now can put in health benefits of meditation, and you'll get like 20 scientific empirical evidence base.
Absolutely. When you said the lawyer in our heads, would you compare that to ego, or is that akin to ego?
Yes. So the mind is divided into two person. The consciousness, to you, the one that knows that there's a lawyer in one's head. The one that says, no, I'm not going to listen to you, or you can even call it the gut feeling, right? And sometimes the gut is right? I mean, certain people introduce their energy in a room, and you're like, ugh, I can't mess with this one. Something about bad intention, hidden agenda with this one. And then there are people who are just like Christmas morning walking into a room. Okay, but it's funny. It's a lot of us, and I think because of intellectual laziness leads to the the lawyer in one's head that just wants to make up excuses and reason to procrastinate, to avoid things that needs to be done, to avoid things what needs to be studied, to avoid what needs to be practiced. You know, it's like if I ask you to take out the trash, or anyone to take out the trash, just observe the lawyer in your head. The lawyer will say, "Nah, don't take out the trash. Just wait. It's big bag. It's heavy. It smells. It's a long walk. It's at night. Don't do it. Just do it in the morning." That would be the lawyer in one's head. When you want to go to school and commit to a degree, the lawyer says it's too expensive. It's not worth it. You shouldn't do it. You should just go get a job and have it now. Have money now. Work now. Enjoy now. Play now. Don't see the long-term reward as a direct result of this. So that's why you have to study a lot, and you need to know what to study and how to study so that you counter with that lawyer in one's head, to counter effectively the speech and debate. And again, no, and everyone's different. You know, it's our job as teachers to see inside of people's minds and to bring forth that lawyer clearly when we examine relationships. Like, all right, so tell me about your last relationship. How did it go? How did you break up? Why did you break up? Give me some examples, and I'll start digging. And then out because of the examples, I will see the way how their mental process is to bring forth a lawyer and to pinpoint exactly where that lawyer is wrong. Then I have the person see the lawyer, and then they're like, aha, they have this aha moment. And that's what awakening looks like.
Profound. So, in your opinion, how has the integration of mindfulness into therapy changed how people heal and grow?
They have an alternative, additional explanation to desire. They have additional supplemental, more information and alternative information to know, oh, this is what the ego is. This is, the ego in Buddhism we call the atta, which is the me, my, and the I. Me, my, I. The practice of the self. And then the opposite of that is the practice of the non-self. Not me, not my, and not I. Right? You're not your thoughts, you're not your emotions. Your thoughts and emotion is a direct result of these combination of experiences of your eyes and ears opening up, things that is happening, activating events in front of you that is causing you to react this way. Why would you take that so personal? Um, like if someone step on your foot or bump into you right now in this moment, you would start tripping and you'd be like, "Excuse you," right? And some people actually take that and they really attach to that event, and then the whole day they're brewing over it. I can't believe Karen had stepped on me and didn't say sorry, and then you tell your friends about it, and it just compounds this snowball effect of offensiveness that the world had done commit to you, onto you. And Buddhism is like, no, it's okay. These things happen. This is part of life. This is the true nature, reality of being human. People are going to bump into you, and you're going to bump into people. People are going to cut in front of traffic, in front of you. You shouldn't take that personal. It would disrupt your peace. So let it go, because you need to think alternatively and have compassion for your fellow human. The guy that bumped into you could have been blind, and you didn't even know that he was blind. Or he could be partially 70% blind. What is the definition of legally impairment? Because we don't think alternatively, because we're quite narrow, black and white thinking, that we jump to conclusions. Once again, jumping to conclusions without evidence. And it is Buddhism that helps us think alternatively, slow it down a little bit before we pass on judgment, jump to judgment, jump to anger so quickly. So the intersection of the two helps with that. It's my job to also pinpoint flaws in psychology, and it is also my job to point out flaws in the teachings of the Buddha if I find any, and where it could not be helpful. And I find that sometimes psychology is not comprehensive enough, and or the how to resolve bipolar, depression, anxiety is not clear enough for this particular individual right now in their life based upon their age and stage. That's that's what's unique about Buddhism, is that there's always a bag of medicine for this particular human being at their age and stage. Whereas psychology sometimes is like a one size fit all, and it just throws it at you, and you're not. I don't understand what this therapy is and how it applies to me, and you would question the effectiveness of it. So it takes a very skillful teacher to administer both of these types of medicine, psychology and Buddhism, to help the individual heal properly, slowly, and carefully, thoroughly.
When you said when you were going through like the not taking things personally, when giving that example, it reminded me of, I don't know if you've read the Four Tech Teachings, and his four agreements are: be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, and always do your best, according to Toltec teachings. So it brought me back to that. How does Buddhism deepen our understanding of the mind compared to traditional psychological frameworks?
By understanding desire, by understanding causes and conditions. I think Freud attempted to do this. I've always got a kick out of Sigmund Freud sitting on the couch and free association for years. Um, I have this thing for psychology. But one thing that I've been on the other side of as a patient 6 years with like 7 different therapists, from PsyD, PhD, MSW, LCSW, LMHCs, and never did I ever hear any of them ask the one question that can cure a human, which is, where do you think your anger started? Where did you think this desire started? And so when I resolved, my students examined me very carefully about my timeline as a monk and my timeline of being in love 7 times. They just wanted to dig into my life in details, of which rarely do I see any monk disclose about their life. They just teach the teachings and they just leave their private life on the side. So you just get the teachings. You don't know who this person is. And I told my students that I resolved completely the entirety of my life in about 2.5 years by and through the practice of dependent arising, also known as dependent origination. And what that is looking at the links of influence. And it started with how did I get this angry? Why am I here? Why am I suicidal? Right? So I started back when I was 6 years old, as early as I could remember growing up, what I saw, who said what to who did what to who, what I said, how I got in trouble, how I got yelled at, the domestic violence that I witnessed, how my dad cheated on my mom, how my mom spied on my dad. I remember everything. And then I was like, that's where you get the fear from, Chidao. The fear was because from all the hiding. The fear was from witnessing the domestic violence. The fear was because you felt out of control. Ah, that's what makes you want to become a police officer, because things were out of control. So you wanted to be in control in your life. So you figured by being a cop, you would be in control of your life because of, the badge, the authority, all the toys, because that's how a little kid feels. I can't help my mom right now. This is a lot of turbulence, violence right now. I sat there for 1 year, and in one sheet of paper, I traced the entirety of my life as young as I could remember up in 2017. I still have that paper. I just got to block out some things, and then publish that to the entire world to see this is how you trace your past. And this is how you come to be in complete, secure understanding of this is what formed you. And it's okay. You can love yourself now. You can say that it's okay. Love yourself. No one's here to love you. Love yourself. Own your story. And now proceed on courageously, knowing who you are. And that no one can ever manipulate who you are. Nor can they destroy you, because you try to destroy yourself. I try to destroy myself, you know? And so it's like, how can anyone come back and try to destroy me now, today? So Buddhism teaches you how to be indestructible. People,
Wow.
in relationships will try to do that. They'll try to destroy you by finding your weakness and say, you need me. You need me. You need my love because I know things about you. I know that you need me. You need my love because I know things about you. I know that you would never leave me. Oh, and then all that tornado twists and turns of manipulations and the dark psychology that people deploy and employ. But, it is painful. It's not easy. But when you sit with a good, qualifying, authentic teacher who have done the homework on himself, cured himself by and through the methods, it can be done. And when it's done, and quite fairly quickly, you will know what liberation and freedom actually really is. No longer chained and bound by the prison of your mind that you have created, or that life created for you, whichever comes first.
Yeah, the presence of your mind. Right. Exactly. So, how would you define enlightenment from a Buddhist perspective? And do you think it's truly attainable in like one lifetime, this lifetime?
Yeah. So there's two definitions, and then there's my definition, right? So the two academic definition is, number one, enlightenment is that you let go of greed, anger, and ignorance of the Four Noble Truths. The complete extinguishment of those three fires or poison in humanity that all of us have, including myself. Number two, the academic explanation of when you are in the present moment, right here, right now, of which I have been with you. This is enlightenment right here, right now with you, because I'm no longer thinking about the past, not fueled by the past. The past doesn't have any power over me right now, nor does the apprehension of the future has no power over me right now. So in this moment, I'm in nirvana with you. And then my third definition from my own personal perspective is, yes, these things can be attained with mindfulness, being aware of the combinations of our experiences. And you will have your days where enlightenment doesn't mean, oh, you're going to become a saint and you're always going to be happy and you're always going to be joyful. No, there are days where you're going to have bad days, actually. But by being aware of the fact that you have a bad day, it has less power over you, and that you are less likely to do something unwholesome, unhelpful, creating more negative karma. The full understanding of karma, or the comprehensive understanding of karma, prevents you from doing anything that could adversely affect your spiritual growth. So yes, it is absolutely attainable, and quite fairly quickly. By how? Dismissing the lawyer in your head, first and foremost. And sometimes find a good teacher that you can put full faith and confidence and let him lead. Let him help you lead. Follow his lead. Uh, Now, what prevents you from getting towards enlightenment is you arguing with the teacher all the time. So hopefully you find a good, qualified, authentic teacher that can lead you there. And that's my aim for everyone. Each person has a challenge for me. It is my job to understand their ego, their me, mine, I, and lead them towards that in the most compassionate, understanding way.
Wow. So, you mentioned karma just now, and I think there's oftentimes a misunderstanding of what karma is, especially in Western culture. We tend to kind of throw it around as like it's this, bad thing, like it's this punishment almost. Can you give us a perspective or help us understand what karma really is?
Right. So all of us can examine when you first stole something, what happens thereafter? Well, hopefully three things did in fact happen. We're looking at the law of cause and effect. What did you cause and what was the effect? What happened thereafter? So if you stole something, which all of us probably have, stole a candy, stole money, stole something. I once stole too, so don't worry. Notice everything I teach, I always apply it back to me because I didn't grow up all innocent like an angel. Number one, your conscience tell you it was wrong. That right there is instant karma. Then something went missing in your room, and you're like, how the hell? How the hell? I know I had done put that there, and then it went missing. And then number three, the police showed up, or somebody showed up. Somebody showed up and be like, you know that necklace that I left in the bathroom? Yeah, I'm just wondering if you picked it up by accident. So you can see the cause and effect in regards to stealing. Now look at the cause and effect of anger. When you responded in anger, what did you get back? You obviously didn't get back a bouquet of flowers. When you loved and when you forgave and when you asked for forgiveness, what did you get back? When you gave money without asking for anything in return, what happened to you in your life? When you helped another person, stopped your car and helped them uh, change a tire or so on, what what happened in your life? How did it improve? So these are some of the things I want people to think about. Like, oh yeah, I forgot about these things that happened in my life. But when I helped other people, good things happened to me. And when I did something that was not so saintly, unholy, against the commandments, against the precepts, cheated, lied, stole, or even killed, I suffered greatly. I went to bed with this guilt. I also woke up with that same guilt in the morning. So karma is cause and effect. If you cause certain things, wait for the effects to come. In Buddhism explanation, sometimes it comes whenever it wants to come, and sometimes it comes quick. And sometimes people argue with me, and they're like, "Well, certain leaders, venerable, certain leaders seems like karma is taking their sweet time to ripen." And I said, "That's yeah, okay. Well, it may take a long time for karma to kick some butt, but trust me, that karma never forgets an address." Yeah.
Right. There's checks and balances in the universe, and one of the things that I help my students understand is that there's basically like a spiritual bank account that we all hold, and every action, every deed, every thought, even there's a debit or essentially a deposit that we make in our spiritual bank account that carries over. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. What are some common challenges people face when seeking enlightenment, and how can they overcome them?
What to believe, what not to believe. Is this believable? Is this attainable? Can this be done as a human? Why do I have so much suffering? I've done so good in my life. I don't understand why I still suffer. These are some of the common things that people say to themselves in their head, compounding the evidence to move away from enlightenment. What is Buddhism? How do I choose a monk? There's three schools. I belong to the oldest, longest, strictest conservative school of Buddhism, the Theravadan order, the school of the elders. And a lot of people are like, well, there's three schools. I don't know which one to choose. I don't know which one's right for me. I can't find a monastery. I can't find a monk that speaks English. Enlightenment, 84,000 teaching. That's a lot. That's a lot. You can get a PhD in Buddhist studies. Um, a lot of things that comes towards a person, and they just shake their head left or right. Then on the path, how do I remain jubilant, joyful, and enthusiastic along this path? Um, how do I not be lazy? How do I not be intellectually lazy? How do I deal with challenges with my family and my loved ones in the middle of studying the path, in the middle of meditation? So these are the things that the teacher will try to encourage each particular human with its particularities of that human's wants, needs, desires, and doubts. And what ultimately propels a human to stay straight on this path is the effective and comprehensive understanding of where you have been, and how much suffering do you want for yourself, and how much more suffering do you want to endure. Are you tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired? Because I was sick of it at 22 when I fell out of love, and three girls and their mother told me the day you change is the day, told me the day I change is the day hell freezes over. And I was like, oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. No, they did not. And three of them from different locations that don't know each other told me the same thing. And I made it a firm resolution at age 22 that that's it. I don't want to suffer anymore. I can't repeat doing this. I can't tell you how many times I tried to give up in love because it was so difficult. The controlling, the anger, which we all have, right? We want to keep what we have and we don't want it to go away. Um, but I made a firm resolution that that's it. That's it. I'm going to come to the complete understanding of who I am right now. I need to understand my mind right now. I need to understand how it's tripping all the time. It's tripping. It's making me like this, like this face, like constipation all the time. Like, who wants to wake up with that? Who wants to feel that way? The hell? And I'm like, I don't want to wake up agitated anymore. I want to be happy. I want to make other people happy. What is liberation like? And this is the ultimate source of motivation that keeps you straight on the path. And realizing that if I deviate from this path by going back to sex, drug, alcohol, masturbation, porn, or all the things that we want to run away from that brings instant pleasure, that it's not going to serve me well. It's very short term. And the best way that I can encourage all of you was my own transformation. I mean, I've been so open. You all right now only getting 5% of my life, but I've been so transparent about my upbringing, being in trouble with the law, and uh, uh, alcohol abuse myself, sex addiction myself. I swam out of there effectively from this shore to the other shore very quickly. And here I am today talking about this at age 36. Still a good looking monk, right? I can get married anytime. I can disrobe. I only need to tell one other monk that I'm disrobing and I can hit the strip club tonight. But like, why am I still here? It's like, and every year it's like I get younger by serving people. And what is the secret that Ji Dao actually holds? He belongs to an order that cannot ask for money. He belongs to an order that has 227 rules, but yet he's happy. He's here with us. And he's continuing to serve the people. Karma works for him. So can it work for me? The methods work for him. Can it work for me? He was Americanized just like the rest of us. He grew up John Hopkins. He had black friends. He had black girlfriends. He had black, white, Puerto Rican friends. I had everything. I grew just like I was messed up just like the rest of us. But yet I'm here. So I hope that people take that into consideration, that this is a possibility and it's worth a shot. You can't hurt yourself along this path. I don't see any harm in there, or a waste of time or energy in there. You only get more wiser.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, you too can, lead the thug life. So, can you share a story? I know you probably have so many, but can you share a story of your life, where, give us an example of maybe where the merging of psychology and Buddhism brought this profound transformation, or just a story of transformation, a glimpse into what you overcame?
Well, I have more love stories than anything else, as Valentine's Day is coming up. But it was my failure in relationships that really ultimately propels me towards the path to peace. The feeling the need to control in relationships, love. We all want to love. Then we fall in love. Then we do the boyfriend girlfriend thing, and then we get attached, and we're like, wow, she's such a baddie. He's such a baddie, so on and so on. And then we get clingy, and then we're like, we don't want it to change. We want it to last forever. All of my partners that I've had, they're all beautiful. Really, really, they were all really beautiful. They were like 10 out of 10s. And I didn't want it. I didn't want it to change. We call that impermanence in Buddhism. Not all things last forever. Everything that is conditioned is subject to change and will not last forever. Okay. And I just wanted to just have them forever in my life. Um, even even sex is not always satisfying. We can see that. Every time you go out and get your favorite meal, is it always that satisfying? The same level of intensity of that chocolate, the same level of intensity of that meal or pasta or red lobster, right? Sometimes you're like, oh, this is not cooked right. Can you bring it back? I want another one. And then rarely are things under your control. And in my love relationships, that's why people control. It's like, hey, I had done text you, why you text me back? And then we're attempting to control. We're attempting to control circumstances and the way how they operate based upon what we want or need and desire. So most of my stories surround that type of behavior, with a lot of laughter, but also with a lot of headaches and heartaches. And it was buying through Buddhism and psychology for me to understand the cognitive behavioral education (CBT) that helped me let go of the grip of control and ultimately understand that this is the true nature of relationships. People come and people go. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. You know, it is uncertainty, to embrace that uncertainty, to be mindful right now in the present moment. Every moment you have with that human is precious and lovely and romantic. And make it romantic. Make it like it's the last day you're ever gonna date this person. Valentine's coming up. So enjoy in the present moment of eating chocolate together, of laughing, watching movie, tickling each other. And then look at each other and say, I love you. You know that I love you. And I love you in an unattached way. That means if you leave tomorrow, I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to move on. And I know that some things are just not, the stars are not aligned for us right now. So it's hard. The art of being human is difficult. So we ease that fall buying through the philosophy of the Buddha. So I share mutual feeling with all of my fellow humans out there that, you got to love, because if you don't love, it's like, well, what's the point of life? Look carefully. It's the joy through love. Technically, the only time you're actually fully enlightened is when you're in love. Because when they sneeze, you're like, oh my God, that is the cutest thing ever.
Depending on the day, I guess. No, that's so true, though. I think it's at the end of the day, when I talk about return to sacred, in some way, shape, or form, it's a return back to love. And I think we're still trying to fully understand what love is beyond that surface level, So thank you for being a reminder of that. I want to open it up for any questions. If anyone here has questions for the Honorable John Chudao. And while they're typing in their questions, so throw your questions in the chat if you guys have any. One other question that I had was, how can someone merge, or how can Buddhist teachings be? Well, let me ask this: how can someone merge the teachings of Buddhism with their daily routines to cultivate a more mindful and fulfilling life?
When you're washing the dishes, just know that you're washing the dishes. When you're sweeping, just sweep. Enjoy sweeping. Enjoy washing the dishes. Enjoy vacuuming. Oh, when I'm vacuuming, I'm at it. It's so satisfying watching the dirt come off the floor. When you look at how monks tap into enlightenment, it's the way they sweep the floor at the monastery with the loudest, most annoying broom you ever find on the market. Go to your local Asian market and be like, y'all sell brooms here? And look at the broom, and it looks like a witch's broom. Like, you're like, how? And then go sweep your yard with it. Find cement, find leaves on the cement, and sweep. And then you realize exactly what I'm talking about. We live in an accelerated world. Be aware that you live in a world that pushes you to like move 200 miles an hour, where you're in the bathroom trying to attend to nature's call and you're still texting and checking emails. How's that peaceful? You can't even attend to nature's call without distractions. And even the Buddha said that. The Buddha's like, when you're attending to nature's call, just attend to nature's call. you know? Why do we get a kick out of watching wildlife? Because they're in their environment at peace. They're just laying underneath a tree, and it's something about that simplicity that we desire deep down inside. That, dang it, I just want to sit underneath that tree and just enjoy the shade without my laptop. When was the last time you ever slowed down? As I age gracefully, age 36, moving forward, a lot of things slow down, and I'm forcing my students to slow down with me. It's the only way you're going to live long and healthy, not with the way that society wants you to live, 200 miles an hour. That's crazy. And then the next thing you know, like how many like I've done like 4 tax returns back to back, and I'm like, my year not even finished yet. What? I gotta pay taxes to the IRS? Y'all, how's this quality of life for a monk? So even I'm adversely affected. The quality of my life is adversely affected. Nonetheless, my fellow humans out there, they're just trying to, figure this out. So, but I see the speed of life preventing people from actually truly living and loving. So you can incorporate this by, again, being with the teacher that encourage you to slow down, and with enough encouragement, you will eventually slow down. You will make time for this, because your health depends on it. You got 1,000 problems right now, girl. Wait till you have a health problem. Now you got one. So when you look at the health benefits of meditation, you realize that if I don't bring my blood pressure down, pretty soon you're gonna have one problem.
It will. So yeah, meditation, y'all. So Shai asks, what is a great way to detach if you have an anxious attachment style after a break loss?
How to detach if you have an anxious attachment style? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. Yeah. She asks, what is a great way to detach if you have an anxious attachment style after a breakup or loss?
Okay, so I have that too. I have that anxious attachment, ambivalent attachment. Um, because there is actually one very sad picture. It was the cutest picture, but it's also really sad. Um, that I'm in the crib and I'm like looking out. I don't even know who I'm looking at. Somebody snapped that picture without my consent, and I'm looking out at the crib, and it's the saddest face of an infant. And I'm like, oh, well, somebody went in there to comfort me, because that's why I got that face. It was like a face like somebody just stole my football face. And so I grew up clingy, really clingy. And so, how do we get over this or come to cure this? In the moments of loneliness of your life, uh, whoever's asking this obviously pertains to romantic relationship, I hope, or relationships altogether. There will be moments of your life of loneliness, that very deep, empty, uncomfortable feeling. And the Buddha encouraged you to sit with it and go through it, and examine it and analyze it. In psychology, we call this desensitization techniques, where by facing it head on, this discomfort, slowly you get used to it, you get better at it, and eventually you subsequently overcome it. And also to practice the links of dependent origination, of how, and then probably talk to your parents, how you were raised, to really know. Okay. But again, the Buddha encourages to go through the pain head on, like a semi truck. It's the only way. And look at the total opposite of what we've done, which is try to run away from it, and try to control our partners in order to, put that in the void.
Thank you so much for that. And then we'll take a question from Miss Tanya. Tanya asked a question.
Hi, thank you so much for being so relatable. And I love how personal and stuff. I know you said that you talk to young adults. I have like 2 young adults that I know would love to work with you. Do you just work in groups, or do you have it where they would be able to work like one-on-one? How do you do that? Because I live in California.
I was in California last week. I was there last week. Oh, you had done miss me. So I work individually with. That's what makes me different from any other therapist or any other monk in the entire world, is that I deal one-on-one with people, and when it is appropriate, I put them in groups. But everyone suffers differently. They have a different worldview, different suffering, different addiction, different trauma. So I'll be more than happy. I teach for free. I don't charge money to work with any individuals. The degree that I studied was human development, so from birth to death. So I can counsel as long you're as young as a human can speak, all the way to 90 years old. Um, but that's how I approach it. Very tailored. Come as you are, and I meet you where you're at. Yeah.
Perfect. So can I have that information? Can I put them on the list? How does that look?
Yeah, so I'll share his information with everyone inside the group, how you can contact Fidel.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, and then we have Meredith says, first, I want to thank you. I appreciate you for all the life-changing wisdom, she says. Second, are the lawyer and ego the same thing? I think I asked that too.
It's not. The lawyers, you are right now aware of the lawyer, whatever it is that you need to do. The lawyer is also your secretary. The lawyer is also your assistant. 70% of our day is anxiety. Well, we got to think about the next bill we have to pay and what we have to do in like the next 10 minutes or next hour. That's the lawyer, or the secretary or the assistant. They have different titles. All in one day, they hold different titles. And you, the higher you, the consciousness you fully aware of that lawyer, you can dismiss the lawyer. You can override the lawyer by knowing, well, I'm not going to do that because I need to pick up my kids, or I need to do yoga, I need to meditate right now in order to ensure my own peace. And that's how you reel it back together, is in order to ensure my own peace, this is what I'm going to do. Rather than the lawyers telling you, no, go make more money, go do overtime, and come home, have a drink. So yeah, just being aware of that. And again, adopt CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. You all can look that up. It'll help you be more aware of that lawyer. It's very insightful.
Nice. Okay. Thank you. All right, I think that's all questions. Lots of love in the chat for you. Everyone was really, I think, the thing I really appreciate about your style, Janelle, and I think people said it the best, is just, you keep it real. You are so relatable. I can see why you work with youth, why so many people on TikTok, 1.5 million people are drawn towards you. And you just have this very authentic style. And I just want to say thank you so much for your service. I know that your contribution to society it's just remarkable, the work that you're doing with psychology to youth and all of that. You're on the front line, and I think it's so needed, especially in today's time. So I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I have such a high respect for you and your work. And thank you so much for coming on here to share time and your teachings with us and enlighten us all. And I want to thank you all for joining us on this journey of remembrance and just reconnection here on Return to Sacred. It's just been an honor to share space with you all and our honorable guests today. And as you all, I just want to remind you, as you step back into your rhythm of life, may you all carry the wisdom and inspiration and sacred truths that we've uncovered together. And one last thing, Chudao, is there anything that you would like to, is there one key teaching or practice from Buddhism that listeners could begin applying today? What would that be if there is one you'd like to share?
So I'd like everyone to take a deep breath. Just give me 3 deep breaths right now. Breathing in, I know I'm breathing in. Breathing out, I know I'm breathing out. We take 25,000 breaths each day. The Buddha would ask you, how many of them do you notice? Let us not have to wait for the next coronavirus to realize our breath and how breath is life. Let us not have to wait to be on a ventilator to know what life is. And so the most key teaching and advice I can give you is, when life is stressful and you're anxious, anxiety, or depressed, when you take these 3 deep breaths, don't it remind you that you're here, you're safe, right now in the present moment. And that's how you tap into it. That's what the Buddha used to achieve enlightenment, was his breath. The one thing that is free and built in already that you don't have to order on Amazon. Prime or not, next day or not, it's right here. And so when I teach kids to do this, I tell them to take your hands, put them on your tummy, and take 3 deep breaths. And don't it remind you, you're safe right now, little Johnny. There's no earthquakes. There's no hurricane. You created all of this in your head. Only 30% of what we think is going to happen actually really happens. So we suffer more in imagination than actual real dangers. So I hope that everyone would heed my advice and everything that we spoke about today seriously. Take your peace seriously, the priority of your peace seriously. And that's one way to honor a living teacher is that's it. The breath is right there. So easy. And I hope that that brings everyone to peace, closer to enlightenment. And I can't wait to meet some of you after this. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to inspire your listeners. This is the second biggest group that I've ever seen on Zoom in my lifetime. Usually it's just a one-on-one type thing, but to see the engagement of all of your fellow humans brings a great smile to my face. And I hope everyone have a wonderful and victorious, courageous year moving forward. My blessings for all of you. And may you all be well, be happy, be free, and always be healthy.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you again to Chanel for your teachings, your wisdom. And may you all carry this wisdom forward with you into your day. And remember to breathe. Blessings to all of you. Record.
I have to take that. That was a very, very important phone call, folks. Very, very important phone call. So sorry.